the question is whether democracy can be sustained. I think that's going to be a question that will arise before we face the bigger future threats. What is happening is that the powerful are becoming more powerful. Money is becoming more powerful. I mean, the power of money over democracy in the United States has, I think, increased radically in my lifetime that I can remember. And clearly, when the rich can enhance their children and the poor cannot, this is going to get much worse. So inequality is already a problem, and that's the inequality that is given. And it's very difficult to cope with. Although everybody deplores inequality, there are powerful forces, for example, in the United States, that keep it increasing. How we're going to be able to deal with that as societies in the future, there are no signs at the moment that the ability of governments to deal with this is improving to meet the challenges. To my surprise, a little more pessimistic than you. What is happening in the United States with the growing inequality in wealth and power, the inequality as such means that the democracy becomes sort of a fiction. That is, if, as we can see even in the United States as it exists now, the power of money to buy politicians, not buy them in terms of corruption, by supporting them, by supporting their campaign, the power of money over politics in the United States is poisonous. And clearly, when there is a threat of universal basic income, there are quite a few billionaires, and I'm thinking of, Rebecca Mercer, for example, who will not let that happen. So, and she and people like her have a lot of power. Now, we are lucky to have quite a few billionaires who are really very benign. Buffett is benign, Gates is benign, and the Google founders want to be benign. But this concentration of power in the hands of a few people is really what democracy was created in the hope of avoiding. I mean, humanity has tried to avoid this. And I think the concentration of power clearly has been getting worse over the last few decades. In the United States, I mean, this is very much a United States-centric point that I'm making. Yeah, I think it should be troubling to everybody. I mean, there's huge power. There has been a huge transition of power to the technological companies, and some of which are controlled really dictatorially. I mean, there's no question. Those are single individuals making decisions with their own interests. I would not trust any individual to know the true motivations for the actions that they're taking. Insight is a difficult thing to acquire. So, yeah, clearly very dangerous. So and we see it happening.
Humans can suffer, like the managers, the owners of the stocks, the employees, they can suffer.
My girls.
Yeah, they can certainly suffer. But we can know very easily that Google is just a story by this simple test that it cannot suffer. And it's the same of nations, it's the same of currencies. The dollar is just a fiction recreated. The dollar doesn't suffer if it loses its value.
Let me push you on that, right? So oftentimes, like just in the US, they say the kind of the system we set up in the US is an experiment. It's often styled as an experiment, democracy with the checks and balances, et cetera. Under one view of that, you can say that that's kind of a story that we've created in America, right? We've created this kind of really nice story, but if that was broken apart, like that entity is not suffering. But if that experiment is the thing, the proper functioning of those institutions and the things that support that story, that's the thing.
We know that it functions properly because it alleviates suffering. It provides healthcare, it provides safety, and if it doesn't, then we would say the experiment doesn't work. The experiment
So would you say that experiment is a fiction, or is that experiment reality? Is it a thing?
The experiment is a story that we share It's things that we humans have invented and created in order to serve certain needs and desires that we have. It is a created story and not an objective reality, but it is nevertheless one of the most powerful forces in the world. When I say that something is a fiction or a story, I don't mean to imply it's bad or that it's not important. No, some of the best things in the world and the most powerful forces in the world are these shared fictions. Nations and corporations and banks and so forth, they are all stories we created, but they are the most powerful forces today in the world, far more powerful than any human being or any animal, and they can be a tremendous force for good. The key is to remember that we created them to serve us, and not that we are here in order to serve them. The trouble really begins when people lose sight of the simple reality that we are real, they are not. And a lot of people throughout history and also today, they kind of take it upside down. They think the nation is more real than me. I am here to serve it, and not it is here to serve me and my fellow humans.
Very interesting. So